Hey guys, yeah, I'm kind of doing this on the fly because I just got off work a little while ago, so I wanted to come out here though and give my thoughts on why a lot of people recently, as of this past weekend, have felt that the season 9 episode Uprooted, the third episode of the season, was a retread, a remake, a somewhat different take on Season 5's episode Castle Sweet Castle, and why it's been dubbed Castle Sweet Castle 2.0. Now, I don't blame any fans, including Voice of Reason and Thespio, who basically said the same things a lot of people have been saying. Hey, and Map, Miss Anthropony, Dr. Wolf, several people on social media, the message boards. Everybody that I've read, everybody's comments and critiques that I've read so far have all basically said the same thing. And that is, Uprooted is nothing more than Castle Sweet Castle 2.0. And I'm not saying they don't have a point, because if you compare the two episodes, you can see the similarities. You can see the similarities in story arc. You can see the similarities when it comes to the individual characters coming up with their own ideas. You can see the similarities all together. But the one question everybody's always had is why? Why take a story that you've already done and retread it, remake it for another season, for a new season, but just take a different cast of characters and put them in the place of the already established characters? Well, I think the reason is very simple. You see, even though this is the last season of MLP, this is the second season of the student/young six existence. And sometimes when you're introducing a new group of characters that a lot of people look at as being like the new main stars of the show, or basically the soon-to-be new bearers of the elements of harmony, basically you're going to end up having stories repeated or retreaded to kind of get these characters established. So even though you might be a long-time fan and viewer and supporter of the show, and all of a sudden you see these new group of characters being placed into story arcs that are similar if not identical to what you've seen before with the main cast of characters, there's a reason. That reason being is basically trying to establish this new group of characters to not just the established audience, but the newer audiences. In other words, you know that throughout its history, even recently, there have been new fans coming to MLP. And so with new fans, you have to introduce new characters, and sometimes you have to put them into scenarios that have been done before. But what makes this a positive when you think about it is it helps those newer fans to want to go see, or encourages those newer fans, I should say, to want to go see the episode in which a lot of people say this is basically a different take on, or a different take off of. In other words, a retread of. It makes those newer fans want to go see the episode Castle Sweet Castle from Season 5. It makes them want to go see it to see the similarities between the characters, to see the similarity in the story arc. Because if you watch Castle Sweet Castle, in that episode, the main six were trying to take Twilight's castle and they tried to make you feel more homey, more at home for Twilight ever since she lost the the Golden Oaks library, which she used to call home. But what happened is they all individually had their own unique ideas of what they believed would be, homey or feel at home like for Twilight, because they were doing it by how they would probably feel at home, how they would make the castle feel at home for them, and not considering what would Twilight feel like being at home. And the same goes here with the Student Six trying to memorialize the Tree of Harmony. Each have their own individual ideas of how they individually would want the tree to be memorialized, but they're not doing it as a group. And that basically with a few differences here and there, that basically is why a lot of people look at, Uprooted as being very similar, because it's got identical paths as that the characters go through, lessons that the characters go through and stuff like that, growth, development. It's very similar and identical in story arc. But again, the reason it's done this way is it helps people to want to go, helps the newer fans to want to go and see the episode that a lot of people say that it's identical to, or it's a retread of. So whether you liked the episode or you didn't, the positive thing that it does is it helps the newer fans, or the fans that have just been getting into the show in recent years, like let's say yours truly, to want to go see Castle Sweet Castle and see the similarities and see what's the same and what is the same and what could be a little and what is a little bit different. That is why even with last season, with one of the most despised or criticized episodes they did, non-compete clause, why in a sense it's kind of like a retread, or a bad retread as some fans put it, of Fall Weather Friends from season 1. It's basically because you got this new group of fans that have come in recently that want to get to know the characters, and if you put someone like Applejack and Rainbow Dash in a scenario where the rivalry shows, and then all of a sudden these newer fans start hearing, oh, it's identical, but a worse take on Fall Weather Friends, people are going to go want to see Fall Weather Friends and see why many consider it the better, episode of Applejack and AJ, when it comes to the friendly rivalry. So overall, I will say this: is it a good idea to sometimes to take a used idea, take a idea that was used in a story idea or a storyline that was used in the past, and use it for a new generation, or a new episode to introduce a new generation of characters? Not really. But is it a good idea to do so when you're introducing newer fans to the product and to the series? Yes. I think it is a good idea. As well as it's also a good idea, whether you like it or not, to help establish the newer characters, especially if they're in only their second season, not their first or last season. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents on the fly, if you will, as you could probably tell, my 2 cents on everybody's thoughts on Uprooted being a retread of Castle Sweet Castle and basically being dubbed Castle Sweet Castle 2.0. Again, guys, it's basically to help establish this young/student 6 group to the already established fans by putting them in familiar territory, as well as introduce them to the newer fans by putting them in a scenario that when the newer fans hear it's a retread or a retake or remake or a different take, whatever you want to put it, a copy of an already established episode that had the similar, if not same premise, it's going to make those newer fans want to tune in to season 5, go watch season 5 and watch Castle Sweet Castle to see the similarities, if not some of the differences. So that's why I believe the writers at behind MLPFIM do this at times, and it's not just them either. It's other series have done this as well. Well, and other series have done this as well to help establish newer sets of characters. So that's all I'm going to really say on it, guys. Let me know what you all think down below. Comment if you like. Again, this was all done on the fly, as you could tell. So let me know what you all think, and I'll talk to you all later.